It's time for Takes on Takes, the weekly episode where we give our take on your take today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much.
Joe, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Halfway through the month of May. Schedule's out. Did a couple of playoff predictors yesterday.
Yeah. Go all the way through playoffs and everything?
No. I wanted to get my fix on regular season. 18 weeks, you know.
Yeah. Well, that will give you a great foundation for the first take.
Great.
Which is about division winners for
Very
Daniel.
Good. Worked out well.
Yeah. Daniel says this. Over-under, he's setting the over-under at 4.5 repeat division winners. Daniel is taking the under. Says Baltimore, Houston, Kansas City, Tampa, and the Rams are all candidates to regress for him. However, he would like to say that he does like the over on 8.5 returning playoff teams. So I am curious to kind of attack this from the repeat division winners perspective and see if we can talk ourselves into there being under 4.5, so 4 or fewer.
All right. I would, despite the fact that the New England Patriots are favored to win 11 of their 17 games this year.
Is that really true? 11 of 17?
Yes.
Is that really true?
Yes.
That's really true.
The Patriots are favored in 11 of 17 games this year.
Now they
do not have the most challenging schedule.
Right. They had that last place schedule. They've elevated the floor of their team. Their coaching is better, but that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
All that to say, we think the Bills probably repeat in the East.
I was just going to say, despite the fact that the Patriots are favored to win 11 of 17 games on their schedule, I would pick the Bills to win the East. I would pick the Ravens to repeat, even though, I don't know that I would necessarily agree that they're a regression candidate either.
I totally disagree with that. Yeah, I think they're a team that has added to what they have.
Last year was the regression year.
Yeah, and they didn't regress.
From 23.
Right.
They went 12-5 on the regression year.
Totally agree. Their only threat to me is Cincinnati in that division.
Last year was the Bills' regression year, and they went 13-4, right?
Right.
I think the South is open.
I don't think much of Houston in terms of staying power, but do you have enough confidence in those other teams?
I'm just saying, I can see the world that exists in which one of the other teams wins.
Okay. So you'll put that in the maybe category?
Yeah.
All right.
I disagree with Colin Cowherd that I think the Chargers are going to win the West.
I thought that it could be open, but I thought Kansas City had a phenomenal offseason.
They did.
Phenomenal.
Yep. I'm inclined to agree there. I would pick the Chiefs.
Same. So we need almost a clean sweep here in the NFC.
All right,
Eagles?
Let's start. Eagles, I would pick the Eagles.
I don't think their roster's as good as it was last year.
I would not pick the Lions to win the North right now.
Tend to agree. So there's our one firm.
We went into them yesterday.
Yeah.
We did that whole division.
Yeah.
So actually, if there's one division we feel like we have a great grasp on right now, it's the NFC North.
Yeah.
I think there's enough other questions that exist. Could you see the world in which maybe Atlanta finally has the breakthrough season versus Tampa? I'd pick Tampa to win, but I kind of see that similarly to the AFC South.
Yeah, which defense gets it figured out between Atlanta and Tampa? That's going to be what it comes down to.
And while I really like the Rams and would pick the Rams, I kind of viewed the West in that regard as well. So I would take the, 4.5 new division winners?
And he says under 4.5.
I would take the under as well.
I think so too. Jacob and Kyle, this has been like 3 weeks in a row of people wanting to talk about rookie running backs. So here's our little rookie running back segment here. Jacob says Quinshon Junkins, that's the Browns' new running back, will lead all rookies not named Ashton Genty in rushing yards this season and be top 10 overall.
My concern with Cleveland and Judkins by extension is what style of football games are they going to be playing? Do you think the Browns are going to be very good this year?
I don't.
Which then in turn means you're in the second half of a lot of football games not be playing neutral or net positive game scripts to run the ball.
Yeah.
That's my concern with this being a factual take.
Especially because you feel like Omarion Hampton's in a position where it's exactly the opposite of that.
Najee Harris, bro.
Boy, I hope you're right, because I'm clinging to every ounce of value that's left in Najee Harris in fantasy. But
I might try to cash out there.
I did. I offered him in a trade that I don't think they're going to take, because I'm a horrible person.
Don't say it now.
No, because listen,
they listen to the program.
I'm self-aware. I only do trades if I feel like I'm ripping the other person off. It's a terrible thing about me. So I never expect my proposals to go through.
You're the Howie Roseman of.
I am. And sometimes people take the deals.
Football.
Sometimes people take the deals. So
they just like the name, right? Sometimes you just see the name and you're like, oh,
yeah, no. And that's the thing. You got to know the league. You got to know the people that are always antsy, that just want to do something and go after the do something people. And sometimes they'll just do something and you'll feel like you rip them off. Yeah, I think those dynamics are true. I guess it's chalky to say Genty and Hampton, but also like RJ Harvey's in a really good spot to get a lot of volume there as well. So I will say that Junkins has a great year, but I don't know that he'll be number 2 in rushing yards. Our last rookie rushing.
Oh, it's another rookie running back take.
Yeah, this is perhaps the most spicy one we've ever had. Dwart Salini. That's the name. Dwart Salini.
Dwart Salini.
It's about Travion Henderson. He plays for the Patriots.
Yeah, that's
will break the rookie rushing record of 1,808 yards.
Spike the ball.
Spike the ball.
If that happens, go ahead and spike the ball.
1,000. Is any running back in the league going to get that this year?
I mean, we had 2 last year.
I know. But they were what? Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley?
That's true. Yeah. They'll probably get it again this year, but.
And the Ramondre Stevenson factor still is a factor, right? He's a paid running back by this GM, Elliott Wolf. That's one of the biggest storylines for the Patriots right now to me, is like the direction that you think that the football team is going from a coaching and scheme perspective, foiled against the moves that Elliott Wolf has made for this team and how that all adds together. It's going to be interesting, because you look at Vrabel with Tennessee, and I felt like there was disconnect with not only John Robinson, but then of course Rand Carthen. So
Joe sowing the seeds of malcontent.
Listen. Which gets us to August. August says there will be another division in the AFC this year that has 3 teams that make the playoffs, but it won't be the AFC West. You think there's 3 playoff teams in the East?
No.
I don't either. You think there's 3 playoff teams in the South?
No.
I don't either. What about the North?
Maybe.
That's your maybe. That'd be the maybe. And it's all about Pittsburgh there. And I mean, we're also counting on Cincinnati,
right?
A non-playoff team for 2 years in a row to make.
I don't think it's all about Pittsburgh. I think there's. I agree with you with what you just said, Cincinnati, and they kind of feel like, and I know they had the Joe Burrow injury in 23, but it kind of feels like this is what this football team is, right?
I don't think their talent's better than last year.
It's not.
So
your concern is you're potentially looking at year 3 of kind of being stuck as an imbalanced football team. And I think that's even more pronounced now than it was last year.
So if it's going to be 3 teams in one division in the AFC, it feels like it would be the West.
It would probably be the West.
All right.
Now, there's a world in which I think Cincinnati and Pittsburgh win 9-10 games and make it.
All right. We got some fun stuff on the other side of it, including summertime fruit, the most improved position group in the NFL. Kyle Krabs has a take. And is Russell Wilson a Hall of Famer? We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Be sure to stick with us. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's a kind of atmosphere you must experience live, and this year's matchups are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop the closer it gets to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. Plus, the NFL schedule release just dropped, and you better believe I'm already looking at my fall calendar, picking which games to hit. The Bills, they play in Carolina. They play in Atlanta. I know where I'm getting tickets. That's going to be Game Time. It is the spot because Game Time makes scoring NFL tickets just as easy. And with Game Time, they have the Game Time guarantee. Your tickets are 100% authentic, will arrive on time, and you'll always get the best price with fees included. So what you see is what you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
What do you think of this flag football NFL thing for the Olympics? Are you up to speed on this?
Yeah, I'm up to speed on it. So if NFL players are in the flag football Olympics, it's not a fair fight. Like
you should just not have flag football in the Olympics if the NFL players are allowed to play.
I do love the idea of what this can mean for football because you look at like the NBA Dream Team, that globalized basketball in a way, and you've seen a huge amount of, international players becoming NBA superstars, right? And I love that. Like some of the best players in the league are international. So I think it's opened up the game, and I would love that idea for football. I want more people across the globe to play football, and we get the best players in the world. But it's also just not going to be a fair fight. And, I mean, to me, it comes down to this. Like, do the players want to do it? Do the players want to do it? If they want to do it, I think they should have the opportunity to do it. I mean, 7-on-7. These guys can be running routes all summer long or whatever, 7-on-7.
Yep.
One guy's going to get hurt and then people are going to lose their mind. But I don't know. Every other sport they do, right?
Every other sport. I mean, there's the World Baseball Classic. There's the Basketball Olympics. There's the hockey just had the Four Nations thing.
Yeah, which not even the Olympics, right? That's
right.
Another thing. Soccer, these guys go nuts.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it's not even the same game. It's materially different.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay with it. You want to see it? You want to see your
fun? I don't know how many of my guys I want to see out there running around for the Star Spangled Banner, but
you want to see Jaylen Waddle out there catching touchdowns from Josh Allen?
No.
It's easier when it's your quarterback. You're less concerned.
Right. Like, what's going to happen to him? They're going to take his flag off, right? Like,
right. More concerning if it's the skill players, the defensive players. So I want to see Maxwell Hairston covering somebody from, whatever country. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not, Kyle. We'll change directions. A little bit scary. Kyle, there's a lot of people that want to talk about summertime fruit. We had two different summertime fruit takes. We're going to use this one from Alex. Alex says, mangoes are the most slept on summertime fruit. They are far superior to watermelon, which gets all the hype. Are you confident you can walk into a grocery store right now and pick out a mango if it wasn't labeled? Do you know what it looks like?
It's kind of like yellowish.
Just thinking to myself, I'm not sure what one looks like.
I'll take the pre-cut mango with the label on it. I'm not a big fruit guy, so this whole conversation is kind of outside of my area of care, if I'm being honest.
You know what? I think the best summertime fruit is a pineapple.
Pineapple is good.
An on-point pineapple is peak. And then, I like watermelon. I like honeydew. I like cantaloupe. I like mangoes. But probably in that order. So I don't agree, but, it's all subjective. It's what do you prefer? Give me the pineapple as the number one summertime fruit.
I'm good with that.
Kyle, not you. Your take is next. This Kyle starts to take with this. Hey up, me ducks.
Hey up, me duck.
We know that one, right? Here's the take. The Cardinals' defensive line is the most improved position group of any team in the NFL. I know that's like there's so much inventory to
There's
do.
a lot to pack into this.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of inventory to keep in mind. The sniff test tells me this is pretty true.
This is probably true. Because the Cardinals last year,
unserious.
Roy Lopez, and I don't mean to just throw it all on Roy Lopez.
Roy Lopez is going to help the Detroit Lions as their 4th interior player this year.
Great. That's great. But you went from that to Calais Campbell. Dalvin Tomlinson's on this football team now. You're
Sweat.
obviously getting Josh Sweat. You're getting Darius Robinson back after you're getting Baron Browning back as well. Walter Nolan in the first round. There's a very different flavor to this front.
Yeah, now, I think this is true.
Now we need to find some linebackers. Mac Wilson, or Akeem Davis Gaither, Cody Simon.
Mac Wilson's a heck of a rapper. Did you watch that video?
No, I did not.
Oh, it's not bad. He rapped the schedule release for the Cardinals. And I thought it was really good. I really did. I thought he did a nice job with it. Check that out.
I will. I'll put that one on my list.
All right, Kyle. This is from Kyle Krabs. Talking about all this for a book is a bad idea. Of course, referencing this Caleb Williams stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah. I guess, was it Seth Wickersham's writing a book?
I'm reading this book for sure.
And it's talking about Caleb Williams and how he didn't want to go to Chicago, and he and his dad, their whole family, tried to find a way around the NFL draft procedures because Chicago's where quarterbacks go to die. And they thought about signing with a UFL team.
Seen this.
Meant getting out of being drafted by the Bears.
Jim Kelly did that.
And then Caleb had a change of heart, and his heart threw 3 sizes that day, and he decided he could play for the Bears. And now that's the only thing that matters out of the story. If you're a fan of the Chicago Bears, is Caleb told his dad, "I can do this. Let's do it."
But the point that you're making is doing this for a book is a bad idea. Like that's gonna be hard to start.
Having any kind of intention of those kinds of conversations getting out, into a front-facing presentation in any kind, any way, shape, or form is a horrible idea.
Right. So much of being a franchise quarterback is endearing yourself to everything about the city, the team, the organization, and you came out and told the world you didn't want to be there in the first place. Does that mean it can't work out? No. There's literally been. I just gave you. Jim Kelly did this. He went to the UFL, said he would not play in Buffalo. That league had to fold before he wound up being for the Bills, and he's one of the most beloved people in Western New York. But probably took him going to 4 straight Super Bowls for that to be the case.
Right.
So, but the point being is what good is there of it? What is the benefit to doing this? I understand those conversations. They should happen. Joe Burrow should be thinking about, before he's going to be the number 1 pick to the Bengals, whether or not he wants to go there. I think that is a very healthy thing to think about. But coming out on this is just, that isn't, to your point, is a bad idea. I agree. Bills Beats says this: Russell Wilson is not a Hall of Famer. Let me give you some details on him as you think about this. Russell Wilson is a 10-time Pro Bowler. He's a Super Bowl champion, 17th all-time in passing yards. I think when it's all said and done, he'll be no higher than 11th, to give you an idea. He's 12th all-time in passing touchdowns. He probably will top out at 11th. 4th all-time in rushing yards among quarterbacks. 16th all-time in rushing touchdowns among quarterbacks. Can you tell the story of football without Russell Wilson?
Who has a better chance of having a Hall of Fame resume, Russell Wilson or Matt Stafford?
Stafford.
That was my knee-jerk reaction, too. And Stafford's played an extra, Russ has played 199 games. Stafford's played in 222 games. So Stafford's played in about 1 more season's worth of games. But it is worth noting that Stafford he's less than 200 yards short of 60,000, while Russ is at 46,135. It's almost 14,000 yard difference in their career passing yards. Stafford has 27 extra touchdown passes, but Russell Wilson is 121 and 77 from a wins and losses perspective versus Stafford is 108 and 113.
You feel like this is probably the most important thing when you talk about Russell Wilson? He's never received a single MVP vote. Never.
When you have a number like that, it probably does change. Although, 10 Pro Bowls is a lot of Pro Bowls.
It's a lot of Pro Bowls. And in an NFC, but like what was the NFC landscape was what Rodgers, Breeze, and Wilson. That was kind of the mix, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
And he only has one All-Pro team, and it was second team All-Pro. Has it been All-Pro once? I kind of want to say no.
Yeah, I think this is. How does this compare to the Eli Manning conversation?
It's another good name to invoke.
And at least the only thing we know about Eli Manning is that he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. But there are people that are passionately against the idea of Eli Manning being a Hall of Famer.
Right. I think the biggest challenge for Russ is Russ has good numbers, but Russ has good numbers in the era of football. Like you mentioned where he ranks in the all-time lists, but the passing yards today are not equivalent to what the passing yards were 20 years ago for quarterbacks getting that kind of volume.
That feels like a Dan Marino tweet right there.
And and how many more years is Russ going to be a starting quarterback?
That's probably this is it, right?
Like we might not get 50,000 career passing yards.
I think there's a good chance of that.
135.
Yeah, you probably won't.
And he's probably not going to get 375 touchdown passes. I mean, he's achieved 25, more than 25 once in the last 4 years.
But you know what he always can hang his hat on? Having a really good passer rating, man. Passer rating is really good.
It's because we don't throw interceptions because we
worked real hard for that.
And then we just get the ball underneath.
We don't throw incompletions either. We just run out of bounds, take a sack. All right, coming up on the other side of it, McDonald's breakfast, bye weeks, drafting and positional things, and really cool take on the Panthers we'll get to here in just a moment. Be sure to stick with us. Start with this Panthers one. Bristol says this. 1 year after being an undrafted free agent and first round wide receivers on the same team, Jaylen Coker outproduces Xavier Leggett by 150 or more receiving yards in 2025. Let me give you a number here. Okay. Jaylen Coker last year had 20 less yards than Xavier Leggett on 40 less targets. Don't you? I think this is going to be true. Let me tell you why. I think Bryce Young is a type of quarterback where chemistry is going to really, really matter. And I think he's established it quicker with Coker. And it's not a huge amount. We're talking 150 yards.
Probably, because obviously they made the big investment in Tet McMillan. But outside of that, like a lot of the ancillary pieces of the passing game are going to be pieces that he's played with this past year, and that would include Jaylen Coker. So I'm inclined to buy on this one as well.
Koala Bear Khan. McDonald's breakfast menu is better than specialized breakfast restaurants like Waffle House, IHOP, Huddle House, Cracker Barrel, etc., due to having more options and solid quality for the price you're paying.
That doesn't feel right. McDonald's part-time breakfast menu has more options than the places that serve breakfasts. I don't know that I buy that on principle. How many things can you get from McDonald's that don't have egg and a meat on an English muffin?
Or some form of bread, because you get like a bagel or
right.
You get a biscuit.
Right, they got hotcakes, sausage burritos, and the oatmeal bowl.
Can I get steak and eggs there? I can get it at Cracker Barrel. Can I get fried apples there? Because I can get them at Cracker Barrel.
I'm all the way out on the steak. And I'm glad that you're defending Cracker Barrel's honor with me.
Well, it's the tradition of you and I being together. We go to Cracker Barrel for breakfast.
Yep.
I will say this. If you're going to catch me eating McDonald's food, it will be breakfast. There will be no other circumstance where I would eat McDonald's. It will be their breakfast, which is the best part of McDonald's, but they're even like they have like their pancakes. They're not as good as like IHOP.
Yeah, I would agree.
So is McDonald's even the best fast food breakfast?
What are the alternatives?
Chick-fil-A, Bojangles. I
don't have Bojangles up here, so I can't speak to Bojangles.
I forget that.
If I'm getting breakfast, I'm not going to get it at a fast food place unless it's on a road trip.
Yeah, but breakfast is such an easy yogurt and a banana at home. I don't know. Yeah, I don't do a lot of this anyways. But okay, there's that. Paul says this: the distribution of bye weeks is the biggest weakness of the NFL schedule as a whole. It makes no sense for some teams to have them week 5 and others as late as week 14. Just have them all weeks 8 through 10 and be done with it.
The league would never go for this.
Yeah, but should they? I think there's a good point here. Why should you have some teams like the Falcons have a week 5 bye. The Patriots have a week 14 bye. That is too different, right?
They want to keep as many television slots filled as they possibly
can. You the same number of games.
I understand that. But if it gets top heavy, you're setting yourselves up for somebody else to capture your viewing market in the heart of your season.
The answer here has always been very simple. Just have 2 bye weeks. And then the Super Bowl gets pushed 1 week. It's President's Day weekend. Everybody wins. Why have we been fighting this? When we go to 18 games, inevitably, it's got to happen, right?
Yes, it will happen with 18 games.
But then you have to extend the schedule 2 weeks, right? If you have a second bye week and an additional week of games, it's 2 weeks. So now you've missed this.
Well, no, because you'll cut down on one of the preseason weeks.
Okay, great.
So perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
So yep.
Okay, sure. Let's get that done. No problem. All right, the last one here, meaty one from Tell. Tell says the idea of only drafting high-value positions to maximize contract costs is fool's errand. The most effective strategy is to pay or obtain those positions other ways, like the Rams, then use your draft picks on best player available regardless of positional value.
So I kind of feel like this is one of those ones you can choose to pursue either way and be right. Because the argument being you can probably allocate more cornerstone talents if you're getting them at non-premium positions. Because how many premium players could you pay at tight end and linebacker as just 2 non-premium positions?
Yeah.
For the cost of 1 premium edge or offensive tackle in today's market.
Yeah, 2.5, 3.
This is the Baltimore Ravens thing with edge rushers, right? They just don't pay their edge rushers. They keep drafting them because then they can pay Roquan Smith and they'll pay Tyler Linderbaum and they'll pay Kyle Hamilton and they'll pay Mark Andrews and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not super convicted one way or another, but I do think you should probably have some congruency with your strategy, like on a year-over-year basis.
How much of this stuff, though, is just really circumstantial? Like what players you fall into, how valuable they become to your team, and then how that affects your decision-making. Like, I think in your core, you can have these philosophies, but I don't think you could sit there and be like, you know what? We're not going to do this. We're not going to keep this player that's really important to our team because this is at our core, our philosophy. I think you have to be adaptable based on circumstances.
Yeah. And that's why every build is different, right?
Right.
Because you'll get set on a pathway based on your early decisions within your build. And the waterfall effect there will be dictated over the next couple of years. And then as contracts mature and you reassess, and then you can part from some of those decisions or double down on some of those decisions, then that's where your identity is really born and how you can kind of have a higher baseline level for what your next build looks like on a cyclical basis.
But I do also think there is value to looking at things through this lens where maybe you are picking in the top 10 and you're going to pick, you're deciding, let's say you're legitimately deciding between Abdul Carter and Ashton Genty, right?
Yep.
And if you were to draft Ashton Genty, he comes in as immediately like the 7th highest paid running back in football. And at the same draft spot, you would draft the edge rusher, Abdul Carter, and they would come in as the 40th highest paid edge rusher in football, something like that. Maybe I'm a little bit extreme on that, but conceptually, I don't think that's a bad thing to think about.
No, I think that's part of those conversations when you get on the board, right? Is we have these two guys graded differently. What's the full fallout in every way, shape, and form if we choose this player or if we choose this player?
Yeah, I think it should be part of the decision.
And that's why teams take some of that clock that we don't like that they take when they're on the board sometimes, to be thorough. That's it.
That's it.
That's going to do it for us here today, this week on the show. Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino, we are locked on NFL Scouting. We appreciate you guys, as always, for checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. We're out of here, and we will be back to talk to you all again on Monday to start another division with our roster deep dives across the league here on Locked On NFL Scouting.